We've racked up about $20 million. When we talked the other day, I think we were talking at 15. Well, I sat down and started writing all the people that we've added to our database.
Wow.
It's closer to 20, maybe a little bit over $20 million in people that I've added to my database that will sell at some point, and in some cases will buy.
All right, folks, we are back, and I've got you a great interview today. A really interesting case study. Let's call it that case study. I was in a coaching call with our clients, the other day, and Brian, came up and was telling, how he does prospecting, right? Because I think a lot of folks have a certain idea of how you have to do prospecting. You got to pound that phone. You don't get up from your desk except to go to listing appointments. And I don't think that's necessarily true. And Brian's got some really great insights into some techniques that have really helped him, get in front of sellers and have a big impact. So we're here to talk about that today. But let's start. First things first. Brian, why don't you introduce yourself? How long you've been in the business? Tell us about your market. Go for it, Brian. Welcome.
Yeah. Brian Slinkard. We're with Sirhant. We joined them back in August of 24. We've been in the business for about 7 years, a little over 7 years. So we've seen, prior COVID and then post COVID. We started with 𝐭𝐫 𝐕𝐢𝐝, and we built a big team. We bought a lot of leads through Zillow, Realtor, all those shiny toys. Spent a lot of money. I think at our peak we were at like $27,000 a month. Which,
Wow.
listen, in my life, I never thought I'd have $27,000 a month, let alone spend $27,000 a month. So we built those leads for our team and tried to grow that way because we saw others do it. And I think what we learned along the way is it's not always about just the quantity of leads, but about the quality of what you're doing and the leads that you're getting. And what we sat back and kind of thought about is, well, how do we put that into something that we can manage and we can do ourselves, that I don't have to, a lot of people who use Zillow and Realtor, you sit by the phone when the phone rings. That could be a $50,000 lead. It could be $1 million lead. It could be an agent who couldn't figure out your number and you just spent $1,000 on that phone call. So we try to figure out what the best way was for us to be able to generate leads, spend money, and not and use that money wisely. And so we went from a big team to just my wife and I, and we're here in Columbia, South Carolina. Our average price point is right around 300,000. And we've always been with those lead processes. We were doing about anywhere from 19 to $30 million a year with that generation. Once we left that mindset and figured out what we want to do, we reduced to ourselves, just Jamie and I, and we're like, okay, well, how do we go after bigger numbers without having the clientele per se? Like, I don't know all the $1 million buyers, I don't know all the $1 million sellers, so how do I get out in front of it? Just so happens we joined Sirhant because of big thinking, a lot of bigger conversations, a lot of people doing that multi-million dollar. And I kind of got tired of being like, well, I have a $400,000 sale or I have a $500,000 sale, and you got these bigger ones. So we ended up coming up with a plan that we took a listing presentation, we made it as nice as we possibly could, and we partnered with Crumble Cookie, and we're like, who doesn't like cookies? Like, why would you not love
So
somebody who comes to
I,
your
I,
house?
I'm gonna have to stop you there because that you took a leap there, and I want to make sure people understand that, right? So this is a really great story because you've gone through the motions of
Yeah.
and I was a early Keller Williams agent too. So I built the team, destroyed the team. I think we've all I think it's a rite of passage of KW. Build
Yes.
the team the wrong way, find out how to grow your business the wrong way, and
Yep.
then if you don't go out of business, don't leave the industry. you kind of dust yourself off and you kind of have to pick it up and try it again, right? I'm feeling it 100%. That well, they're doing it this way, so I guess that must be the way it needs to be done. And I think we learned it the hard way that that's not necessarily true, right? What you see is not always all of the reality and all the details and all those things, right? Especially with something like online leads, that's it's a beast, and it's addictive, and you think
Yep.
you got to spend it more and more and more and more and more, and if you don't look at the bottom line carefully, you can be losing a lot of money. A lot of folks don't realize that, right? You can be losing a lot of money, very, very quickly, and it's a vicious cycle. The team demands you to buy leads, but they're not being productive enough. But they're
Right.
threatening to leave. But you got to buy more leads to keep the team happy, and then what are we doing, right? There's kind of a come to Jesus moment saying, who's working for who here? And why are we making less money than when I was that happened to me. I was making less money with a team than when I was solo. And so I'm
Yep.
thinking, okay, what are we playing? Like, what are we what's the goal here? Because I'm trying to keep these people happy by making less money, and it didn't make a lot of sense. So, but
I'm
you
glad
you
you.
went through it. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
go for it, Brian.
I'm glad you said that because I think one of our aha moments was we were at family reunion, and you see all the big people that are up on stage, and
Yep, I was there.
they all have these big teams, and they all tell you about all these programs that they're using, and what you don't know is, or what you don't see is what their financials are. And when you start learning some of these people and actually knowing them, you find out that their financials, their bottom line is not what they make it appear while they're up on stage. And that was one of the moments that I was like, we got to figure out something else. And, you know, when we went to the team and we proposed this before we decided to disband the whole team, we went and said, listen, we would like to reduce leads and focus on listings and how and focus on that dollar amount, not so much like what may come in, because you're right, they weren't we didn't know the accountability piece that we should have been involved in, but they also would take a phone call and be like, "Oh, I don't have time today to do that." And then if whether they showed it and they didn't buy that day, then they got another call the next day, and it just kind of like that snowball. So all that money that we're spending isn't being used adequately, and we didn't, that's our fault as how we built it. But we also saw that there was so much money that we were spending that we could do it in other avenues, and when we started disbanding the team because they didn't want to change that, they got that instant gratification of that phone call, the all day they would show, so they were busy. And they felt like they were being successful because, every day I'm doing real estate, whether or not I'm doing a transaction or not, they didn't matter. So that's what got us to start thinking of other ways that we could do it. Once we got on our own, really opened up our eyes on different avenues that we could go out and win these deals.
Yeah, no, and I think that, and you became very strategic. You say, you know what, this 300,000 is my median price here, in Colombia. What if I targeted homes that were like more than that, instead
Yep.
of kind of, because when you're like you said, when you're with online leads, you don't know if it's going to be a trailer. You don't know if it's going to be a condo. You know it's going to be a single family home, like in the worst part of town. You're not, well, the worst part of your zip code. And they
Right.
always tell us, if there are mobile homes in your zip code,
You're
half
getting
your
it.
phone call is going to be about those mobile homes, right? And then you got to
Yep.
qualify and kind of bring it back up. With Realtor, with Zillow, that was always a risk. You said, I'm not going to be at the mercy of the online lead. I am going to go out and proactively, look for business, look for homes that I'd like to sell. What was that journey like? How did that go from? What was that like? Was that something that Sirhan helped you focus on? Was that something you guys discovered kind of on your own? You went from lead receiving to prospecting. What was that transition like?
So so it all kind of happened really fast. We from January we kind of eliminated everybody. So between
Oh, yeah.
January and August, we were on our own. And we have a 17,000 people in our database. So we were able to use some of those.
Wow.
Yep. And so we were able to use some of that to keep us going through the first 8 months of last year.
Okay.
And what we realized, we did want to go focus on listings. Like we wanted to go after whether it was expired, withdrawals, whatever it happened to be, we wanted to go after it. And I'll tell you the switch when we went from when we left KW and we went to Sirhan, it was the mindset of the dollar amount because I never thought that I could just go after $1 million property, a $2 million property.
Wow.
I just, I didn't have the confidence, to be honest. And what's funny is everybody assumes somebody else is doing it. Whatever it is that you think of, you assume that you're not the first, or somebody else is doing it better, or whatever the 100 excuses you come up with on your own, not to go out and actually do it yourself. And for the for our transition when we left, that was kind of part of like, well, I can't do cold calls or I can't do server prospecting because everybody's doing it. Everybody talks about it. Everybody's doing it in Colombia. I don't want to get in like I'm just gonna be the last guy, the fifth call, the whatever. So we're like, how can we be different than even that? And that when we came to Sirhan, the confidence kind of got put was instilled in us with we do this every day, multi-million dollar properties every single day. We're the number one followed brokerage in the world. We can get houses in front of any more people than anybody else out there just because of where we are on social media. So with that by itself kind of gave us a different confidence level to go out and stand in front of somebody and be confident enough to say, look, you're trusting me in selling your home, but this is why we can. Because it's not just me. I'm out there hustling, I promise. But I also have the support of, the 1,000 people that are in Sirhan that have the database that we're going to find you somebody.
Love it. I love it. So all those things, because it's never usually just one thing, right? These big transitions, there's usually a lot of factors, involved in that. So you make that transition from that inbound lead receiving, you got the tools, right? Making that move to Sirhan kind of got you what you were missing, which is a big part of it. Is probably just the confidence, right? The confidence thing is just a big part of it, 100%. So I think all those things, bring it together, and then you became more, you were out prospecting, you're out hunting. Instead of farming, you're kind of out hunting, and
Yep.
looking for folks. And then the cookie thing, or so that one, that's like $1 million. So you gotta walk me through how did that occur to you? Because that's, I don't think I've heard anyone ever say, and I've been to I've heard a lot of these interviews, I've been to a lot of these conferences. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that. Again, cookies as gifts a million times,
Right.
but not with people you don't know.
Right.
What was the aha moment? Did you see something online? Did you just think about it? What was that? Because I think that's a brilliant idea.
So as an agent, we had sold with a local builder and they gave us cookies at some point. Now we've had Crumble. I have 4 daughters. Like,
Oh
listen,
wow.
I've been to Crumble more than I want to admit, for some reason or another. So we were on a call actually, and they literally we were talking about confidence. They literally call it the Sirhan effect. And what we call it, what I've been describing, because they're like, oh, why Sirhan? Well, it's called justified confidence because you can have confidence, but you have the support of it. So, anyways, so sorry to stray, but the we were on a call one day and somebody said that they mailed cookies to people. And I was like they would do like one of the image of their team or whatever. They'd send it out with like a love letter or we're looking for buyer or sellers in your area, whatever. And I was like, well, we've been wanting to door knock forever. Like I literally have a list, and I keep this on my desk. I literally this is one page of the list, and these are all homes that I want to go after, very specific that I wanted to go after. So
Love it.
when they said that on the thing, I literally it was just ding. Why not just take the listing presentation that we have, which we do it in this nice coil bound, like really, really fancy, nice paper, and then a 4 pack of crumble cookie and just go introduce ourselves. And that was really the aha moment. I literally remember getting off that call and putting in an order for, I think we did 5 the first time. Um, and then we went and printed out 5 properties. And I was like, let's just go. So me and my wife literally went to 5 homes.
Holy cow. So you always so you heard this idea, on a call, and you're like, let's execute. Let's just go do that. Let's figure it
Yep.
out. And just to be clear, those properties were those, expired, canceled, FISBO. What kind of properties were there?
All of them were expired, and all of them had been expired for the last year, or had been over the last year.
Oh,
And
okay. So you
all
were
of
like
them,
you were sniping these. Like this is like this home was on the market, tried to sell, has not sold in a year. Like I'd really like to knock on the door and have a conversation with this person. Like you were like sniping these guys. I got like 100%. This is the home that I want to sell.
we picked everything over 2 million.
Nice.
Now listen, I'd never sold the biggest sale we've had one listing over 1.2 million, and we had one sell for 1.2 million. In our 350 transactions that we've done, that was the two big ones. Everything else was like 8 or below. And we're like, I want to be in that number. Like that's where we want to be.
That's
So
awesome.
why not? Let's just go do it. And I will tell you, it was probably the most scary drive going to these people's houses in
That's
that
funny.
first day.
And so what we do? Expired listing. Have you tried calling them before or no?
No,
Had you? Oh, so you just showed up cold, 100% cold. Wow, I love that. I love
100%
even more.
didn't, because I felt like if I was in front of them, it would have been a lot harder for them to say no than if I was calling. But to be honest, our objective was not to go get a listing appointment. That was not it.
Got it.
It was to start a relationship, whatever that was. Let them know that we're in the area, we're here, and we can help. So we went to our first house and we drove up to it, knocked on the door. I swear I was shaking, like I was that nervous. The guy comes out, and it's me and my wife, and I introduce, hey, I'm Brian, this is my wife Jamie, and we're out and about today. We knew that your house was on the market before, but we wanted just to drop off some information if you ever think about listing, and cookies because want to give you a cheat day or whatever. And he kind of looked at us dumbfounded a little bit and like, okay, oh wow, okay. And then he goes into why he took his house off the market. He ends up being a real estate attorney here in town, just one that we had not happened to use before.
Got it.
And, kind of told us his kids wanted to keep the house or whatever.
Yeah,
And door one, done. Like,
interesting.
now he's not planning on selling it, but if he does, he has all of our information.
Love that.
But the pitch was never that. It was never to go and be like, hey, I'm here to get a listing appointment, or hey, I want to sell your house. It's just, hey, this is our information. Want to give you little goodies. If you ever think about selling, just give us a call. We'd love to just have an opportunity to come talk with you.
I love
So
it.
we
There's
did.
no high pressure, no hard close, no get your foot in the door. It's like,
Nope.
hey, an introduction,
Yep.
a really tasty, very tasty
Yeah,
introduction to who you guys are.
exactly. And we didn't want to be pushy. We're coming to your house uninvited. So, and I think we went on a Saturday.
Awesome.
So we were more likely to have them be home.
Yeah.
So that one day we met with him. The next house we went to, that his house was like 2 point something. The next house was a $3.8 million house.
Wow.
We drove up, and it must have been right after Christmas, right around the holidays, because that was what we were doing on that. It was right around that time frame. So that's why we walked up and like, hey, for the holidays, that's what we were doing for that drop off. And the next one, the uh, the client had walked up, and she obviously had been exercising because she was like pouring sweat. Her husband comes. There's like 12 cars in the driveway. We're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna interrupt their Christmas party. And there was, I mean, it's a secluded property, so you had to drive down like a one-way back.
Oh,
It
wow.
was kind of scary. If they would have came out, we would have been stuck down the road. But they came out. She was so nice. We just basically said the same thing. She's like, well, I really appreciate that. And, however the conversation ended, it was, we'll keep you guys in mind. So that was kind of the end. And I'll go a little further on that one because later we had decided to send her anyone that we didn't hear back from, or we got to talk to, we sent them some follow up. Like that day, we sent a handwritten letter, and then like a month later, we sent them um, Hillshire Farm, Hillshire Farms, like a little box, like a $40 Hickory Farms, like a little box of like goodies. And she emailed us and was like, "Your marketing is like stellar." And she's actually a marketing director for a big company in town.
Get out. So
And she's
high, like,
like,
not easy to impress. Not easy to
"No,
impress.
3.8 million was our is our house." She's like, "Listen, the reason why we took it off is because the house we really wanted was this one, and it ended up going under contract." So we ended up, she ended up say, "Hey, look, if you find me something in that same range, we'll we'll consider go ahead and buying that and selling this one. But in the meantime, if when we are just if we don't find something and we do decide to sell, we'll give you a call because you've been great." So that's somebody that we've now added to our database. Obviously, we now use that as one. But in those first five meetings, we had three door opens and two people actually weren't home. And in those cases, we still dropped them off.
Oh,
And so we dropped off the paperwork and we dropped off the cookies. So, some people say you should use it as another follow-up day, but we followed up same way. We wrote a letter, we sent something later because all these were over 2 million. So if I spend $100 for a $2 million lead, like that's I was spending seven, eight, nine, $1,000 for a
for
$250,000. Yeah, I mean,
one tire kicker off of Zillow. Like that's what they cost. They're 600,
all
800,
day.
$1,000 per inbound, inbound call, right? So
Yep.
would you rather spend that on a rando or, because I love this because you're flipping the script, right? You're turning it on its head instead of being at the mercy of these portals. And again, nothing. I'm not an anti-Zillow guy. It is what it is, but
Right.
that's what you are. You're kind of waiting for whatever they're going to give you. You said, hey, I want to target these homes. Like
Yep.
these are the homes I want to sell. And you're spending, of course, you're spending money, but not nearly the amount of money you were spending on these online leads. They just could go nowhere and be random spots in the area. I love that. That you're
Correct.
completely flipping the approach. It's completely the opposite. You're being very intentional. You're being very strategic in
Yep.
location and price point and the kind of customer you want to attract, and you're going for it. I absolutely love that.
Well, that was the first go round. So later that same week, we were on a call, and I happened to be watching one of the properties that was active that I liked. For some reason, it had been withdrawn, and then it went expired. I literally got in the car, ran to Crumble, got a 4 pack. Jamie and I already had the packet because I had been watching it. We drove straight to her house. We knocked on the door, and she says, "Well, can you come on in?"
Get out.
It
It
was
expired that day, like the day it expired,
it
or when was
expired like
this?
within a couple days.
Oh, a
Yes.
couple days. I got you. So she
So, but
probably
it
got the
had been
tsunami of
withdrawn.
calls. She got the tsunami of calls, and you guys went and knocked on the door. Holy cow.
Well, this is what's funny. So it's a $4 million listing. All right. And she
Wow.
invited us in. And she says, "You know what's funny? Nobody's called me. I have multiple agents that are my friends, multiple agents that tell me that my house isn't worth it. Multiple, like, just she kind of like laid it out there, like, hey,
Wow.
look, we have some, you know, things out there." And what's amazing, she says, "Let's do it."
Get
So
out of
we
here.
literally, it's listed right now.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So,
Wow. Wow. Wow.
so yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
don't
And I love,
assume
what's that?
don't assume that anybody's going to call anybody. Their best friend, their aunt, their uncle, it does not matter. You cannot assume that people are doing what is supposed to be happening, no matter if they're the upper echelon agent or a new agent. Don't assume anybody's doing the things that you think you should be doing. You just have to do it.
100%. Maybe they were intimidated by the price point. They didn't, they don't know the area. Like, there's a million reasons not to call. There's so many reasons not to call. There's so many reasons not to knock on the door. So many. Are you
Yeah.
willing to do it anyway? Right? Or are you going to sit in your office and think of all the different reasons why you shouldn't do it?
Yep.
Which is, spoiler alert, that's not a winning mentality, right? Because you,
Right.
you you can go on forever if you want to look for reasons not to pick up the phone and reasons not to knock on that door. But I love that you guys, just it took a lot of courage, quite frankly, right? That's not easy. That's not easy to do. And a funny story, I remember in Seattle, when I had my very first ISA helping me make calls, we were just hitting. It was 2013, 14. There was a lot of old expireds, right? That just hadn't sold over the last few years. And I remember he set an appointment with me and this is 10 years ago. It was a $3 million listing. 10 years
Hmm.
ago. So now it must be like, I don't know, 18 million, who knows, right?
Right.
It's a much more expensive listing now, but it was 3 million back then. And I was like dumbfounded. I said, how did you do it? He goes, well, I didn't even notice the price point. He didn't even look at it. He
Exactly.
didn't even look at it.
They're
He just
people.
called, had a conversation with the guy, and he said, yeah, sure. I mean, I'd love to come. It's a lakefront property. It's very unique. He goes, I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Right. That's it. That was it. That was it. And then me knowing nothing about lakefront, I actually partnered with a lakefront agent. So we both went on that. I was not going to be able to take that one on my own. But but
Right.
but the guy was willing to talk. That is my point,
Right.
right? And the only reason I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't have made the call. Me, if I look at that, oh whoa, oh no, there's no way I can do this.
Exactly.
You know,
Yep.
and then my eye, to his credit, didn't even know it. He didn't care. He's like, hey,
Right.
expired listing in our area, boom. It's a couple miles away. Let's hit it up. Let's see what's cooking. See what's the worst that can happen, right? So that's the right attitude. That was a big lesson for me. Like, wow, this guy doesn't even know enough to know what to, that doesn't even have bad habits yet. Hasn't even picked
Right.
them up because they're just looking for the opportunity and to have a conversation with somebody. And that's what I like. I like about this approach a lot. So you guys started this a few months ago.
Yep.
You've been using, let's call it the cookie method, right? Of prospecting. And fast forward to today, what have been your results? How many conversations has this opened the door for you guys? What's it look like now?
So I I'm sure so at least 15 conversations that we've had with people through the process. I think right now our spend is under $1,000 for all of these.
All in, like all in,
All
right? Like
all the cookies, all the
that's
print
just nuts.
material.
That's
I think I
nuts.
could throw in gas in that and still be good, 100%.
That's
Um,
crazy.
I
Really
have a
crazy.
pack, I have a list or a bunch of printed material ready to go right now that we're still waiting for the right time to go. And we've racked up about $20 million. When we talked the other day, I think we were talking at 15. Well, I sat down and started writing all the people that we've added to our database. It's
Wow.
closer to 20, maybe a little bit over $20 million in people that I've added to my database
Wow.
that will sell at some point, and in some cases will buy. I'll tell you. So two really cool stories. The first one, the we went to a house. It was pretty far. I mean, for us, it was about 40 minutes out, but it's on the lake. It was expired listing. We pulled up. The lady comes running out the house with her hands wide open, like she's ready to hug us. And I'm looking at my life like, what did we just do? What happened? And so I get out of the car and she goes, oh, you're not Susie. And we're like, well, we can be. It ends up being that her mail lady had the same car as we did.
Gotcha.
But they invite, and it was her last week or whatever. So anyway, she invites us in. They give us a list of houses that they've been going after and asked us to find them. It's like not find them, but like go find the owners and see if the owners will sell them the house because
So
they want to.
not active inventory. Just to be clear, these are not active listings. They're just homes they've seen, in the area saying, I'd
That
really
they
like to
want.
buy that home. Wow.
They've
Okay.
been watching it for years and they want it.
Wow.
So they want to sell their $1 million house and they want to buy $1 million house. And so we found the owner of one of their properties. So in just that's 2 million. we go and meet the seller of the land, and we basically were like, hey, would you be willing to sell it if you got the right price? They're like, yes, this is the price we want. We got a contract. Ends up that there was some issues with the property, but talking with the owner said, well, I got to sell that at some point. I got to sell my father-in-law's property at some point. We got to get through probate, which is another $1 million, and eventually we'll want to sell our home, which is about 8. So
Yeah.
we are still hunting for our first clients. We are working on listing the other 2 for that client, 2 of the 3. So that's one deal from cookies.
That's a pretty good ROI on that box of cookies, because that's like,
$50.
holy cow. Holy
That's
cow.
And the second story is your ISA. His first week with us, David had started calling some expireds that we had sent him. He set up an appointment for us on Saturday, but the guy was kind of like hemming and hawing, and so he wouldn't respond to any of my calls. So I was like, all right. So I gave him the weekend, still nothing. So again, I printed the material, I got a box of cookies, and I went out to the house. I door knocked. The wife came out. I said who I was, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm on the phone with my husband. He said he knows who you're talking about." She said, "Really, thank you." But again, it was no pressure. Hey, David talked to you this last Friday. We weren't able to connect. I just want to come out and give you a treat for the day, and kind of give you some of our information. When you guys are ready to talk. That was it. I got in the car, drove out. The next day, he calls me and says, "Let's talk." And we talked. Now we have a $1.2 million listing coming.
I love that. I love that. And,
So,
and that's amazing. And Brian, I have to ask the obvious question. You've got let's call it the cookie method, right? Rocking and rolling. What was your thoughts about adding an ISA to that? Like, how do you feel the ISA is going to help you, augment that, improve that? Why get an ISA, I guess, is my question.
so 2 reasons. One, we need more data. Like we want more inflow of leads, right? So I don't have time with 17,000 people. I'll eventually have another one that helps us with our database. But one, we wanted, okay, we love the expireds, we love the withdrawals, we love what's in there. Circle prospecting, like when we have new listings, we need somebody that's able to touch those, because it's just Jamie and I. Jamie does all the admin stuff. I do all the sales side. So when there's just 2 of you, you need more admin support. And I take ISA as part of the admin team. So that was to help that portion of it. And then, with what we do, if they can get them on the phone, we can close that. That's not a big deal.
Because that guy ghosted you. Just to be really clear. That is
100%.
such a common outcome, right? When on
Yep.
that first contact, it's like, well, because you're out of the blue, and phone is very different than knocking on the door. Let's be really clear; it's not the same thing.
Yep.
Like, I'm not really sure. Let me just not pick up on that guy. Who knows? I don't even know who Brian is. And then
Right.
you didn't take, you didn't care, right? You went out and made a connection. You just made a
Yep.
connection, right?
And
And
it's
that's
warm.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier. I mean, that for me was way easier than going to the cold door knocking, but it didn't matter. I had the same objective. And the only difference is I know, like, you'll know me a little bit more because you spoke to my team. And then the other reason why we want an ISA is because we do want to grow. We do want to get back to having 4, 5, 6 agents differently now. We're not doing
Aha.
we're much differently than what we've done
you
before.
you want to now that you've quit the habit of paying for these leads, you're going to hire agents, and you're going to teach them, I'm guessing, this method of building your business, like
1000%.
that way, kind of like, the prospecting based, the belly to belly, full contact sport version of real estate, instead
Yeah.
of the kind of passive sit back and wait for business, version of real estate.
Correct. Yeah, and it's so much more lucrative. I mean, we dropped our business by half last year. Like when we quit everybody, our business dropped by half, but my profit doubled.
Whoa, 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 whoa. This sounds like a topic of a whole other conversation, but let's just unpack that a little bit. You sold 50% less volume, I'm guessing, right? 50% less volume,
Yep.
but you doubled your so just to be clear, it sounds like the team wasn't very profitable for you guys. And that is kind of, and the online leads were just not profitable for you guys. So even dropping half the volume made more money.
Yep.
Wow, that's
Yep.
crazy.
But by double, I mean, we doubled our money. We went from 20 million the year before to $10 million, and we doubled our team, our
Your
financial
take
income
home, your
in our
take home,
team.
right? Your
Yeah.
actual bottom line. I mean, which is kind of what we're in the business of doing. That's really what, what it should be about. And so now you learned it how to make that transition, and you learn how to build a business the right way. And Brian, just being really honest with you, a lot of agents didn't come back from that last year. I mean, the last couple of years have been tough, and you guys know what I mean. It's been tough in real estate last 2.5 years. A lot of people took that dive and then didn't come back up. So
Yep.
kudos to you guys for sticking with it and just finding a way to be more profitable, even if sales are down. Let's just be clear, maybe because sales are down across the whole country for sure. Since
Yep.
2021, the whole country's 30% down. Yeah, understood. That's true. But it doesn't mean you have to make less money too. That's another,
Correct.
you have to operate. You got to become an operator and
Yep.
run a better business. You got to run a better
100%.
business. So I think that's definitely, what you guys have done. And that's just awesome. I love it. And another thing I love that you mentioned before is that whole circle prospecting strategy. I love that because now you're being very intentional with which listings you target and you take. Circle
Yep.
prospect gives you more of
Yep.
those of the ones you already targeted. Like you're just trying to get more people to talk to in that same neighborhood and that same area, right? And
Yep.
and then and then that plus referral and recommendation from a higher level clientele. All of that is goodness, right? All of that's all going to lead to really, really good outcomes because you're being intentional. You're using a strategy to same amount of work, right? But you're targeting a completely different property.
100%. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I
I mean, and that's what upset us is, you hire a bunch of people for your team, and this was our vision, not knowing how it would all come together back when we were with KW and we had the people and we made that decision. Like, this is what we looked at. Like, I want, I want to be 600 plus. I want to be 800 plus. I want to be 1 million plus. Whatever that number is, you as a real estate agent can pick it, whether you think so or not. You can. You just have to figure out a way to get your foot in the door and do it. And unfortunately, Zillow and some of those big name companies that you start using, it does start feel like crack. Like, I got to have the phone call or I'm not successful, or I got to be out showing homes or I'm not successful. And it did take us a while to come off of that, like as a team, and then us as individuals. Like, when I first started, that's how I learned.
yeah.
Some brokers said, "Hey, here's some leads, go do this." And it was hard to be like, I'm not going to get a phone call. I'm going to have to go figure out how to make a call or get somebody to call me based on whatever. So yeah, this was our vision, and it's actually great because every interaction that somebody's come to the door, everybody has been positive. We've been
Wow.
invited to multiple people's homes, got a plethora of information that we never thought that we would have got from ever making a phone call or getting a Zillow call or realtor or whoever it is. And it's just been a super positive experience. And we just look forward to see how we keep going and bring some more help in for us at some point.
I love it. I love it. I think it's awesome. Brian, thank you so much for sharing that story. It's a great one, man. This is gonna be a great interview. I think people will get a ton of value from that. Any final thoughts, recommendations, things people need to do, things people need to not do to just kind of break. Maybe you're talking to a lot of people that are in that kind of they feel stuck in that internet lead, cycle hamster wheel of I need to spend more money or I'm not going to make more money, but I'm not making more money. So how do I spend more money? And they're kind of trapped in that, hamster wheel. What would you say to someone, that's stuck there?
Don't assume that whatever you think you, would be good for you, it's either being done. Like, just go do it. Like, I wish there was another way for me to say it, but you know, there's the old way is the new way is kind of what we're seeing. And
100%.
obviously making calls, obviously doing the door knocking. Some people, I've talked to a couple teams that are on our coast, and they brought up the fact, well, it's a gated community. Well, FedEx isn't that expensive to ground something to somebody. I mean, there's other ways. Oh, well, they don't live here. Well, there's ways to find out where their home address is and send something to them. So thinking outside the box and just executing, and don't do it once, do it multiple times so you can actually get like feel that there's results, because it does. If you're doing it and you're doing a good job at what you're doing, it'll the fruits of your labor will come out.
I love that. I love that. And I've been noticing that too. What's old is new again. What's
Yep.
old is new again. And I loved hearing the description of the people's faces, right? Like when you guys showed up there and just wanted to have a conversation, wanted to build a connection. People don't do that anymore, right?
Right.
Like people don't do that anymore because it's a lot easier to show them an ad. It's a lot easier to get an automatic dialer and try to dial some random people. That's a lot easier to do. But it's not nearly as impactful. It's not
Right.
nearly as impactful, right? Not at all. And I know what some people are saying. Oh, it doesn't scale well. Of course, it doesn't scale well. That's why it works, though, right?
Right.
Because it's not a mass mailer, a mass ad campaign, a massive, necessarily impersonal, right? Generic message. It is about them. And it is a personal connection, and people thrive with that. Like people like. I would even bet some people miss that, right? On some level, on some
Yeah.
people
Oh
would like
yeah.
to have a little bit more interaction with some folks,
Post
and
COVID.
and yeah, 100%. And at least you can say that it sets you apart from everybody else, because I'm sure these people that you're talking to, they know agents. Hell, might
Right.
even be related to an agent, like that closely to a real estate agent in this area, but they're just not doing what you guys are doing. So kudos to you guys. You're
I'll
doing something
say
amazing. Yeah.
I'll say so. So those who think that it's not scalable, I kind of disagree in the fact that
Mm,
when I win that person, they're going to be clients for life. They're going to have friends that are in that price point. They're going to have
yes.
neighbors. They're going to have, you know, they have the network that's going to help you continue that growth. So it's not scalable as in I'm going to buy, 100,000 boxes of cookies or
Yeah.
whatever, but it's going to scale in a way that you would never have expected before.
Yeah, 100%. Those referral recommendations in that area, in that price point, the circle prospecting in that area, in that price point, looking for other expires and withdrawn in that area, in that price point. It's all going to be goodness that compounds, right? It's all going to be compounding results. So I agree with you 100%. So Brian, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you, and we'll see folks here on the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.